Everyone talks about the journey to your first million, but almost nobody talks about what happens the morning after you actually hit it. You expect the world to look different, but the truth is, the biggest changes aren't in your bank account, they're in your head. Today, I'm sharing the raw, unpolished reality of hitting seven figures that most people are too afraid to admit, and honestly, most people never even get close enough to find out. So let's talk about why. Here's the thing. We treat $1 million like a finish line, like a switch flips, and suddenly you feel calm. But the psychology of money doesn't work that way, and neither does the math, once you actually look at it closely. My name is Ely, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people in the U.S. experience money psychologically. If you're someone who earns a normal income, maybe even more than you used to, but still doesn't feel financially secure, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Not because I need the number, but because this channel only makes sense if it reaches the people actually living this reality, the ones lying awake doing math at 11 at night, even though their paycheck went up this year. Let's start with the math, because it matters more than people think. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, the median net worth for American households sits well under $200,000. So $1 million already puts someone in rare territory, statistically speaking. But here's what nobody accounts for. $1 million sitting in a normal brokerage account, growing at a historical average of around 7% after inflation, generates roughly $70,000 a year if you're being conservative and responsible about withdrawals. $70,000 before taxes, in a country where the Bureau of Labor Statistics has tracked median household income creeping toward $80,000 in expensive metro areas. So the million doesn't buy freedom. It buys something close to an average paycheck generated passively, if you're patient enough to leave it alone. That's the part nobody tells you. It's not a jackpot. It's a slow, quiet upgrade to stability, not luxury. Now look, that's already uncomfortable for a lot of people to hear, because we've been sold a fantasy version of this number. Movies, social media, even well-meaning parents talk about $1 million like it's the end of financial stress. But here's what most people don't realize. Stress isn't actually about the number in your account. It's about the gap between your expectations and your reality. And that gap doesn't close just because your net worth crosses a threshold. This is where it gets interesting, because psychologically, something strange happens once people get closer to that number. Researchers at the American Psychological Association have repeatedly found that financial anxiety is only loosely connected to actual income once basic needs are met. Past a certain point, roughly $75,000 a year according to older Princeton research, and revisited more recently with adjustments for inflation landing closer to $100,000 in many U.S. cities. Additional income keeps improving life satisfaction, but it stops reducing daily stress at the same rate. Meaning someone earning $50,000 and someone earning $150,000 can report almost identical levels of financial anxiety, just for different reasons. Now you might be thinking, that doesn't make sense. More money should equal less stress. And mathematically, sure. But psychologically, income and lifestyle rise together. Almost like two dancers who never learned to stop moving. A raise from $60,000 to $85,000 doesn't sit in a savings account quietly. It becomes a nicer apartment, a newer car payment, maybe $400 a month instead of $200, dinners out that used to be occasional and are now routine. Suddenly, the $85,000 earner feels exactly as tight every month as the $60,000 earner did 2 years earlier. This is what economists call lifestyle creep, but I like to think of it less as a financial term and more as a psychological reflex. Your brain adjusts to comfort almost instantly, and once it adjusts, it stops registering it as comfort. It just becomes the new baseline, the new floor, and anything below that floor feels like failure, even if that floor used to feel like winning. Here's a metaphor that makes this click for people. Imagine your financial comfort is like the thermostat in your house. You don't notice 72 degrees. It just feels normal. But the moment it drops to 68, you feel cold immediately, even though 68 was completely comfortable for you 5 years ago. Your income does the same thing to your nervous system. It's not about the actual number. It's about whether you're above or below the thermostat setting your brain has quietly adjusted to. Now let's bring this back to the $1 million question, because this is where the real psychological insight lies. People assume that once they cross into seven figures, the thermostat resets itself to something obviously comfortable, something spacious. But in reality, the thermostat moves with you. Someone who felt financially anxious at $70,000 a year often still feels anxious with $1 million in assets, especially if that million came with a mortgage, financial obligations to aging parents, private school tuition for kids, or an elevated lifestyle that quietly absorbed the gains before they ever felt secure. This is the part that stings a little, so stay with me. Financial security was never actually about the number. It was about the relationship a person has with uncertainty. Two people can have the same amount of money and experience completely different emotional realities, because one of them has spent years training themselves to feel safe with what they have, and the other has spent years training themselves to feel like there's never quite enough. Let's talk about identity for a second, because this is where the mistakes usually start. In the United States specifically, income tends to get tangled up with self-worth in a way that's almost invisible until you slow down and examine it. A raise doesn't just mean more money. It means a promotion in how people see themselves. That's why so many people upgrade their car the same month they get a raise, or start looking at slightly nicer apartments the moment their salary crosses a round number like $100,000. It's not irrational. It's identity expressing itself through spending. The problem is identity-based spending grows exactly as fast as income does, sometimes faster, which means the gap between income and expenses barely widens, even as both numbers climb. Here's a realistic example. Say someone goes from earning $50,000 to $75,000 over a few years. Sounds like real progress, and it is. But if their rent goes from $1,200 to $1,800, their car payment goes from $250 to $450, and their grocery and dining spending quietly doubles because eating out feels like a deserved reward for working harder, then that 50% raise barely changes their monthly breathing room. On paper, they're doing better. In their nervous system, they're running the exact same tight, anxious loop they were running 2 years earlier, just with better branding. Now you might be thinking, okay, Ely, so what's the alternative? Just live like a monk forever and never enjoy the money. No, that's not it either. And honestly, that mindset burns people out just as fast as overspending does. The goal isn't deprivation. The goal is awareness, because awareness is the only thing that breaks the loop. Here's what actually works, based on behavioral finance research and, frankly, on watching real people navigate this. The first shift is separating identity from income entirely. That means recognizing that a raise is data, not a verdict on your worth as a person. When people stop treating income like a scoreboard for their value, they naturally stop needing to broadcast every raise through spending. The second shift is designing your lifestyle around your previous income level, not your current one, at least for a while. If someone jumps from $60,000 to $90,000, the psychologically smart move is to keep living like a $65,000 earner for a year and quietly redirect the difference. Not forever, just long enough to let the new income become genuinely stable instead of emotionally reactive. The third shift is understanding what security actually requires, which according to Federal Reserve data is shockingly modest compared to what people assume. Roughly 40% of Americans report they couldn't cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing or selling something. That statistic alone tells you security isn't about being rich. It's about having a buffer, a real one. Ideally 3 to 6 months of essential expenses sitting somewhere boring and untouched. That buffer does more for someone's daily mental health than an extra $20,000 of annual income ever will, because the buffer changes how safe a person feels every single morning, while the raise just changes a number they see twice a month on a pay stub. The fourth shift is redefining what progress actually looks like. Progress isn't the number going up. Progress is the gap between income and expenses slowly widening over time, even if it widens by $100 a month at first. That gap is the only thing that eventually turns into freedom, and it grows quietly, almost boringly, which is exactly why people underestimate it. Nobody posts about a widening gap on social media. They post about the new car. Now here's the realization this all builds toward. And it's the part that changes how people see the entire idea of $1 million. The number was never the goal. The number was always a symbol standing in for a feeling, the feeling of not having to worry anymore. But that feeling doesn't arrive through a bank balance. It arrives through the habits someone builds long before they ever get close to seven figures. Someone who builds a real buffer at $40,000 a year, who separates identity from income early, who lets their lifestyle lag slightly behind their earnings on purpose, will feel calmer at $300,000 net worth than someone who skipped all of that will feel at $1 million. That's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to hear, because it means the fix isn't out there in some future raise or bonus or lucky break. It's available right now at whatever income someone is sitting at today, 60,000, 90,000, wherever. So here's what I'd actually do starting this week. Look at your last 3 months of spending and find the one category where lifestyle crept up the fastest. Not to shame yourself, just to notice it. Pick one number, even a small one, and automate it moving into a separate account before you ever see it in checking. Give yourself a 30-day pause on any purchase over a couple $100s, just to see how many of those urges are financial and how many are identity-related. And rewrite what progress means to you personally, in writing, so a bigger paycheck stops automatically translating into a bigger lifestyle. None of this is exciting. None of it will make you feel like you're winning overnight. But this is exactly the boring, quiet work that actually produces the calm everyone assumes $1 million will magically hand them one day. The number was never wrong to want. It was just never the actual solution. The solution was always the relationship you build with money long before the number gets big enough for anyone else to notice.